This is a tour of the human brain. The largest section of the brain is the cerebrum. The cerebrum has 4 superficial lobes. We have the frontal lobe on the anterior end of the brain. It's covered by the frontal bone. It goes all the way back to the central sulcus. Then we have the parietal lobes. The parietal lobe goes from the central sulcus to an indistinct sulcus, the parietal occipital sulcus. The occipital lobe is on the posterior side of the cerebrum, and it processes visual information. The other lobe is the temporal lobe. We have one on each side, and it is separated from the parietal lobe and the frontal lobe by the lateral sulcus. The central sulcus is this deep groove. Behind it is the postcentral gyrus. The postcentral gyrus brings information to the brain, and it processes it in the somatosensory cortex. The information is then sent out from the somatomotor cortex, which is in the precentral gyrus. So we have the central sulcus, the postcentral gyrus behind it, and the precentral gyrus in front of it. The cerebrum is divided by this longitudinal fissure down the mid-sagittal plane. And underneath we have the cerebellum. The cerebellum is the second largest part of the brain. It has 2 cerebellar hemispheres that are separated by the vermis, indicated here. The cerebellum is important because it takes your skeletal muscle movements and makes them smooth. The cerebellar cortex is around the outside, and the folds are called folia because they look like leaves. The arbor vitae is the white tracts in the cerebellum because they look like branches of a tree. Looking at the mid-sagittal cut of the brain, we can see the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum connects the 2 hemispheres and provides the communication between them. The diencephalon, you can see here on this model, is this area, and it contains the thalamus and the hypothalamus. The thalamus relays sensory information up to the cerebrum in the somatosensory cortex. The hypothalamus is the master control of the autonomic nervous system and the endocrine system. The infundibulum is the stalk that holds the pituitary gland inferior to the hypothalamus. The pituitary gland and the hypothalamus communicate for the release of hormones into the body. The brainstem is made up of 3 parts. We have the midbrain, we have the pons, and we have the medulla oblongata. The brainstem is a bidirectional pathway for all the tracts between the cerebrum and the spinal cord, and has many autonomic centers and reflex centers required for survival. The ventricles in the brain are continuous with the spinal cord. There are 4 ventricles. We have 2 lateral ventricles in the cerebrum. We have the 3rd ventricle is found in the diencephalon. The 3rd ventricle drains through the cerebral aqueduct into the 4th ventricle. We can see the cerebral aqueduct over here, the 4th ventricle, and then is continuous to the central canal of the spinal cord. The ventricles and the central canal of the spinal cord all contain cerebral spinal fluid.